Okay, we are recording. So hello, I'm Jessica Brown. I'm the Early Childhood Special Ed Coordinator at Northern Lights Special Ed Co-op. And I have with me Dina Hagen, our Director of Special Education at Northern Lights. And we are recording a brief hangout to talk about early childhood special education reporting of membership and attendance. Let me advance our slides. Are you getting the advance, Dina?
I sure am. I can't wait to get started on one of our favorite topics.
So the topics we'll cover today are special education hours. We'll talk about membership and attendance related to preschool placements. We'll talk about initial evaluation hours, kindergarten reporting, and then some other MARS data elements that apply to early childhood special ed. So just a brief overview of what MARS is. I know many people think of it as just the Excel documents that you submit to your MARS coordinator, but it's actually a bigger system standing for Minnesota Automated Reporting Student System. And it's our main student system for data collection across the state of Minnesota. So every district is required to submit a variety of MARS data elements every year and many times during the year. So the data that your district submits really generates a lot of aid. So it's an important feature of your job. And each district also has a MARS coordinator. So it's important to know who that person is and send them your correct information.
So Jess, that's that long number associated with each student in Minnesota. That's their MARS number. That's really good to know because I see that in SPED forms.
Yep.
And now I understand that. And now I understand Mars doesn't mean the planet.
It doesn't. No, it has a couple of different letters in it. Yes, every student has a 13-digit MARS number. That is how their data elements are tracked related to that. And if a child moves, that number moves with them. So one of the important things we do as early childhood special ed teachers is collect our special education hours. That is for all students who are being served on an IEP or an IFSP. And all service providers who are on the service grid should be submitting or reporting their time. And there is an exception to LPNs, interpreters, and PCAs, but it applies to PT, OT, deaf, hard of hearing, etc. So that's a spreadsheet or minutes, sometimes people refer to it as, that are submitted to someone in your district. And each person collects them a little differently. So again, that communication with your MARS coordinator is very important, whether it's monthly or yearly, but that time should be collected for all of your early childhood special ed students. And how do you do that? So maybe you've seen this Excel document. We have a link to it, but I'm just going to show you this quick picture and then talk a little bit about attendance versus membership. So you'll notice you'll collect two columns of data on that Excel document. Attendance is the time that the service is provided, or I like to think about it as the time that was attended by the student. So that will vary depending on the attendance of the student. Membership is what's on the IEP. It's what the district plans to provide that student. So that should be just a calculation from that IEP. A case manager being gone or a student being gone wouldn't impact membership at all. So next we have the example of the special education hours. So I have this linked for us. It is a MARS Excel document that Shannon in our office creates every school year. So you'll need to do one of these every year for your student. You'll collect the student's name, date of birth, case manager, district, IEP date, the service provider, and all those start dates will be on there.
Are you hoping to show that actual form right now, Jess?
No, I was just kind of going to talk about some of the items they'll see on the top. And then I wanted to highlight the example. I had started putting in time for a student there. And if you can see, I have the start date that was on the IEP. So that student was a 9/3/2019 start date. And then I have the service frequency. And so you'll notice that on Tuesdays and Thursdays, the 3rd and the 5th, they've got 30 minutes of direct time and then 10 minutes of indirect time. So on the very right-hand column, we have attendance and membership. So that attendance is going to need to be typed in manually, the membership will automatically calculate. So each 30 that's in there will obviously add like an Excel document. And then if that student's missing those 2 dates on the 16th or on the 17th and the 19th, you'll see that absence, and you'll have to add those 60 minutes to the membership. So the attendance automatically calculates and the membership will have to be added. And then that will add down at the bottom too. And I think maybe did I reverse that? So attendance is going to automatically calculate. Membership would be any times that student was absent.
It probably would be helpful to have one of these sheets for each student with you when you're providing the service, so that you could record it right away and not forget, or logging your actual service provided another way so that you could go back and put it in the spreadsheet.
What I recommend to teams is having a folder on your desktop or in your Google Drive with every one of your students' Mars data special ed hour sheet to collect. So you would be keeping that. I always, as a teacher, gave myself a little chunk of time on Friday afternoons that I would collect all my information for the week. And then each child had their own Excel sheet, and they were saved by their name and their date. And that way I could each week go in and say, oh, Dina Hagen was here on Tuesday and then Thursday this week for her 30 minutes of direct and indirect time. And so just a reminder that anyone on that IEP should be collecting this time and submitting it either monthly or yearly to their Mars coordinators. So that was what we would call special education hours. And then we have another type of membership and attendance that's related to preschool placements. So if a child is participating in a district paid placement, again, there's no cost at all to the parent, and that's part of their special education plan, we would need to do a preschool contract documenting that placement in their IEP, and then submit that time that they participate in that preschool program to our Mars coordinator as well, because that is membership and attendance time that's generated above and beyond our special education time.
Isn't there a separate section in the IEP service page for this?
Yes. Yep. There is a box in there that you can document the placement for. And I also show an example here of how to type this up. In years past with fiscal monitoring, they want to be able to, what they've said is, do the math. So in this example, you see that I have the placement as 3 hours a session for 9 hours a week for 28 weeks. So I can do that math of 28 weeks times 9 hours. That would be the number of hours of membership that this placement would be eligible to claim for their time in that placement. Obviously, attendance would be different depending on the attendance of the child, but you can see in here, either place of the LRE or the accommodations is where we've suggested to teams to document this. So you can see that it's a community-based placement, it's district paid, it outlines the time, and then how that child will access their general education setting, or maybe how they won't if they're not in that setting. So just making sure we're describing that placement.
So far, we've talked about 2 different ways that the school district generates revenue for that particular student, right? We have one way that's the special education time that we showed in the first grid, but then we're also layering on the revenue generated for the preschool membership. Okay.
Correct. Yep. And then Head Start's a little different. And I just want teams to be familiar with that. And if they have specific questions, I'd love to help out with that as well. But Head Start is no cost to the district, and it's no cost to the family. So it's not eligible for membership and attendance beyond the special ed service hours. Mm-hmm. But there are cases where if we have a paraprofessional that is specific to a student or a classroom, we can claim that time as membership if it's directed in the IEP. And I've advised teams to do that either using that Excel special education form or the preschool attendance form that I'm going to show in an upcoming slide. So I just want to highlight the preschool forms that we have on our website. And I hope, is this slide presenting?
Nope. So I think you have to click a tab that says present this tab instead.
Okay. Let me see here. Share this tab instead. Yes.
Perfect.
So I'm going to scroll over here and enter our special education resources. Oh, I'm going to see if I'm going to be able to get it all here for you. Yes. So we have the preschool placement grid. And this goes to Mary Borden, so she can do the contract. We have the membership and attendance form, which is where we will collect that membership and attendance for that revenue. So I share a quick picture of that on the next slide. So let me get there. And can you see that then, Dina?
You might have to click one more time that tab.
Okay. Yes, no?
Not yet.
Okay, let's go back to my Google. I think maybe I closed my...
Might have closed sharing. There we go.
There we go. So here is the membership and attendance form for community preschool programs. So this form should be completed perhaps by the preschool teacher or by the ECSE teacher, maybe, or a teaching assistant, but they can show that the time the children attends or the time the child is absent. So this form should also go to your MARS coordinator for their preschool membership and attendance. On top of your Excel document, that would be for your special education hours.
Jess, can I ask a clarifying question about preschool?
Yeah.
When you talk about preschool, you mean either a private preschool, maybe one that's in a church or that's privately run, and then also preschools that are run through a district's community education program?
Correct. So any placement that the district is providing at no cost to the family. So that might be a school readiness program, that might be an ECFE program, that might be a certain number of times in another private preschool that's been determined by that IEP team as the best placement for that child. Again, if the family is paying for that placement, we do not get to collect the aid that we see in this preschool attendance form. So again, only for those district paid placements. And then I want to talk a little bit about eval hours. So all initial evaluation hours are eligible to be claimed even if a child doesn't meet criteria. So both initial Part C and initial Part B. And all team members can claim evaluation hours. So we do have a sheet on our website called Evaluation Log. And I hope you can see this. It's the team documentation for initial evaluation hours. So this outlines who and when evaluation hours can be claimed. So anytime we administer evaluation tools, obtain information from a parent, a language sample, score, interpret, write the eval report, and then additionally 2 hours of the IFSP or IEP writing time. So each team member should be claiming their time. And I have the number of hours here and the dates. So one of the suggestions would be to make a copy of this and keep it in your Google Drive or maybe email to the team, but making sure that we are capturing all that eligible time for an eval, because it can be a lot of time. Okay, let's see if I can get us back to presenting. I think I just got to represent. Okay. And then for kindergarten, check in with your MARS coordinator. Some do this a little bit differently, but really all the service providers should be documenting their time using that Excel document to claim the time that's on the IEP for those special education hours. And then I want to highlight to teams the co-op data forms. This is really the method of communication with your MARS coordinator in your building. So if you can see on our slide there, each district has specific co-op data forms, and if they don't, they can use the all other districts on the bottom. And these should be done anytime we have a new student, anytime there's a change in status with a student. So what I tell teams if you look at the MARS reference guide, which is also linked here, anytime any of those data elements change, anytime a number changes, you should really be doing a co-op data form to change that information for your MARS coordinator. So that is our quick presentation in terms of membership and attendance for early childhood special ed. It's complicated, and I know there's lots of unique scenarios, so reach out if you have questions, and know that your MARS coordinators in your building have a lot of good information to share with you.
Jess, I have one other question that I'm wondering about. Sometimes I hear about stacking of services in recording membership and attendance. Is that something that we should share about?
Yeah, and that's more what our MARS coordinator is going to see on their back end in terms of what they can add together. And that's not something we typically see much of in terms of how we're capturing our time with the forms that we're using right now.
That's great to know. So every service provider should be recording their own time.
Yes. Yep.
And then all of that gets figured after that.
Right. Yep. Our MARS coordinators do that back end work.
Excellent.
Okay. Any other questions?
I don't think so. Thank you so much for that.
Yes, I'm going to stop our recording. Okay. Maybe. Hi.